He says okay for the interview.
Okay, we are
So,
live. We are live. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to iExamB. Today we have with us Dr. Sanjeev Sharma. To give you a brief profile about Dr. Sharma, he is a former CGM with RBI and the former regional director also with RBI. He has also served as a former executive director at NHP. Sir currently is a guest faculty at RBI College of Supervisors and a visiting faculty at for communication at IIMA. Sir is also a visiting faculty with iExamB and a mentor with iExamB for students preparing for various regulatory bodies. So, welcome to you, sir. Thank you for taking out time and joining us today
thank you,
evening.
Prachi. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, today we are doing this discussion to address aspirants, their queries related to making a career in various regulatory bodies. And you yourself have worked in regulatory bodies, two big ones, RBI and NHB.
Right.
So, uh, today we will do the session related to these queries also. But before we start, sir,
Yeah.
uh, why not you give us a background into how did you land up in RBI after doing a PhD in English from IIT Kanpur?
Uh, yes. Things are destined, as they say sometimes. So when I joined IIT for my PhD, yeah, that's also a contradiction. IIT offering a PhD in English, but not many people were aware or are aware that IITs have a department of humanities and social sciences, where it's an interdisciplinary department. So they have sociology, economics, psychology, English, linguistics, philosophy, and fine arts, at least in IIT Kanpur. But other IITs also have history and other humanities subjects. So one goes with the intention that you can go to IIT and maybe prepare for the civil services. You will get a nice place to sit and work, a big library, and of course you will do your research simultaneously. You get a good scholarship along with it. You become a teaching assistant. So all it was very nice. The whole concept was very nice. So I joined, of course, but then there was no time available to prepare for any of the exams, the UPSC for that matter, because it was coursework. It required intense amount of reading and writing. So 1.5 years went past just doing courses. And by the time you put in 1.5 years, you are so much into research that you don't want to appear for exams anymore. So the thought of appearing for the UPSC, was kept aside. I had no intentions of joining any government organization for that matter, just be a part of the academic fraternity. Now, the question you would be asking is, so why RBI then?
Why RBI? Yeah.
Yes, I was working on the literature of the Native Americans. I mean, popularly in India, they call them Red Indians, but it's pejorative, so we don't use the term. The Native Americans or the American Indians.
Mhm.
Very, very esoteric and new area which no one had worked on in India. So I thought to myself that if after doing all this research, I go back and teach Shakespeare, Milton, Johnson, the standard authors, I don't think I was prepared to do that after the exposure of world literature that I got in IIT. So I realized that 10 years of literature was up to here. 3 years of honors, 2 years of masters, 5 years of research. I'd had enough of literature. That feeling came into me. And then I saw the RBI,
Okay.
and I did apply for it, though my friends who were doing sociology and economics were also applying for it. And they kind of dismissed it, saying, "Why are you applying literature, guys? You people don't get into banks. This is a job for economics and sociology because there's a question on social and economic problems."
Yeah.
Descriptive.
Yeah.
I said, okay, anyway, let me apply for it at least. So the irony was that I got a call for the interview. I cleared the written, and those guys did not even clear the written. So that's how the journey began.
Very interesting. And that brings me to my next question, sir. So many times students are asking us, they don't have a finance degree, they don't have an economics background, they have never studied ESI or finance or management in their life. They are engineers, science students, art students. So the recurring question is, will they be hired? Or how they should prepare? Or will they be at a disadvantage? I can clearly see from your background it is not. But what will you have to tell such students?
Well, we need not have those fears of this kind because most regulatory bodies, I would say rather all of them, be it RBI or SEBI or NABARD, anybody, all of them hire generalists. They are not looking for specialists at all. So in our days, of course, we had a trend where the engineers were not coming into banks; they were more into the civil services. But today, when we find the trend of 99% of the people that I come across who are appearing for bank exams are, from the engineering background. However, the regulatory bodies also have very limited seats or vacancies for the specialized cadres. So they would be looking for IT officer, or they could be looking for a legal officer, or they would be looking for engineers. In the Reserve Bank, for example, we have separate departments for legal,
Yeah.
and there's a legal department which recruits only people with legal background, and they join as grade B officers, and they can go right up to CGM level.
But they are specialized
But they are
vacancies. They are not,
specialized, only
yeah.
specialized.
For
Similarly,
generalist, everybody can
for
apply, as you said.
grade B general, they are not looking for any commerce degree or any science degree or whatever. You have to have basic minimum qualification. So your degree, in fact, becomes only an entry point to appear for the exam. So if you are uh, meeting the minimum requirements, holding a graduate degree or postgraduate degree with X number of marks, then you can sit for the examination. Subsequently, it doesn't matter because RBI really expects you to learn on the spot, on the job, or hands-on training.
Yeah.
So, and they can post you, and with the kind of departments that they are in RBI, so many of them. It's not that because you are a commerce background, you would be only in the deposit account section or the public debt office. No, you could be working in foreign exchange, or you could be working in secretary's department, or you could be in currency management anywhere. So all the candidates must be very clear on this point. Their background education really doesn't. I mean, they need not feel apprehensive about it. RBI, I have seen people from IIM Calcutta, that is the MBA degree. We've had people from IIM Bangalore. We've had engineers who switch over. So they join as engineers and they join as security officers, for example, from the army as security officers, but they switch over to general side by giving an internal exam. So that option is also there. So no fears on that count.
So, continuing with the apprehensions which students have, another basic one is related to language, Hindi versus English.
Mhm.
Again, a preference given to English speaking candidates or not at RBI.
RBI, like all regulatory bodies, is a public sector organization. Therefore, the question of not recognizing Hindi doesn't arise. In fact, हम ये कह सकते हैं कि हिंदी को encourage करा जाता है बैंक के कार्य में। तो एक परसेंटेज होती है सबको हिंदी में ही, वो हिंदी का जवाब हिंदी में ही देना है, और क क्षेत्र से आता है तो उसको क क्षेत्र को हिंदी में ही जवाब देना है। So there is a lot of implementation of the official languages, language act. So when you appear, whether you appear in English or you appear in Hindi, you can appear in English, give your interview in Hindi, you can appear in Hindi, give your interview in English, no questions asked, and no biases on that count. That much I can make it very clear. I have come across so many of colleagues may not be very good in speaking in English, but they write very well. Sometimes they may not write well, but they speak better. But you have officers who write and speak both. Well. So language is a skill which will develop as, because drafting is very important in RBI and most regulatory bodies. When it comes to policy making, you're putting up notes, and some of, depending on where you are posted, your note can go up to governor. So your skills in drafting should be very good. And that is one skill you have to work on once you join the bank.
We have to keep learning that.
You have to
It
keep
doesn't.
learning. Yeah, yeah, yes, absolutely. It's more like a RBI is, for that matter, what you call as a learning organization.
Learning.
So it encourages you to adapt to changes, to do out of the box thinking. As a learning organization encourages people to do that and work in a team and come to solutions.
Yeah, so that's very interesting thought, sir, you've brought about learning organization. So many students we come across, they actually ask this, or they say one of the reasons why they want to join RBI is that it's such a, of course, it's a prestigious organization, the central bank of the country, and also because it's a learning organization, they get to learn at every step. So, how do you think that actually happens, and how have you seen that happening in your entire career and beyond?
Well, firstly, I would like to clarify one doubt that most people have. If my experience tells me that when we ask them why you want to join the bank, so they want to say, I want to learn this, I want to learn that. Now, candidates who are appearing for interview, they must be very clear on this point that it's not a question of what you're learning when you're going to join an organization, irrespective of RBI, any organization, any regulatory body or a commercial bank. When you join, you should be able to tell them what is it that you can give rather than what you're taking. Taking, yes, the bank is going to hire you, not because you want a job, not because you want to learn, or you say because RBI is a learning organization, so I want to join RBI. Well, that is what attracts me to it. However, I'm here to whatever skills I have or whatever knowledge I have, if I haven't been working somewhere, whatever experience that I'm carrying with me, all this can be transferred when I join RBI or I join SEBI or I join NABARD. Wherever you are joining, the student should be very clear. Never say I joined because of my personal reason, for learning, for growing, or because it gives me a good salary, because it's a prestigious job. Yes, those things are there, but they should not be supreme.
So how have you seen RBI, evolve as an organization throughout your career and even today?
Yeah, good question. That's a good question, Prachi. When I joined the RBI was hardly visible organization. I mean, I myself did not know much about the central banking functions when I joined the RBI, and my parents, or for the matter of circle of their friends, they knew nothing about it. So they would say, "Oh, has he joined as grade B officer? Why not grade A?" There was this, that was the level of, and my father said, unfortunately, it's a grade B job and not a grade A job because in every organization, A is top.
Is up,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So then, so that was the level of what RBI was exposed to in public life, other than perhaps the currency notes.
Yeah.
They really didn't know much about RBI. Even in the pink pages, you would not find mention of RBI in those days when we joined the bank. But today, when you see the change, how RBI has risen to the occasion and it suddenly is visible all over. Not a day passes in financial dailies when you see RBI is not mentioned. And not only the RBI alone, but public perception. They have started looking towards what is monetary policy, what's going to happen this time, um, financial inclusion. So what I can say is over a period of time from the 80s till today, if you see RBI, let's say when we joined the bank, it was something like 32,000 people. I'm talking of the physical aspect, the administrative
Mhm.
aspect. So we were working strength of 32,000 odd people. With the times, RBI downsized it and brought it to half the uh, strength. They introduced a VRS. They realized that they had a lot of, deadwood perhaps. But what
Mhm.
happens is normally that, sometimes when you try to remove the deadwood remains and the good ones go away. That also happens. But all the
Mhm.
same, so it rose to a point where it realized that why should it have, no central bank is, such having such a large workforce. It's time we cut down. So they really reduced that. So that was one big change that we noticed. Another interesting change that we noticed was our head of the organization. See, if I'm in Calcutta office, so the head honcho of Calcutta RBI was called the manager. Now, manager
Okay.
was today when you see manager is, you start as assistant manager, and all commercial banks had managers. Even in a rural branch, there used to be a manager.
Manager.
RBI's head honcho was also a manager.
Mhm.
So I think somewhere they realized in the mid 90s, 94,
Mhm.
95, they realized that there was and as RBI was becoming more and more visible, and that was the time when the NBFC sector was also undergoing a lot of change, and they had to, kind of consolidate the NBFC sector. So that was the time when it dawned on them to change designations, change the nomenclature. And suddenly we had the RBI, the manager became the chief general manager. So we used to be, and RBI had its own peculiar designations. So when I joined, I was exchange control officer. And then
Okay.
there used to be a deputy controller, assistant controller, deputy controller, and suddenly controller, which sounded big. And then there was
Mhm.
manager, who was just another manager. And
Mhm.
you could sign as P manager. That is a Latin phrase, P per pro, PP manager or P manager. That's how we sign. In the mid 90s, they changed all the designations and brought them at par so that people understand the importance. So you had the manager. So it started with manager, assistant general manager, deputy general manager, chief general manager. That's how it went. So that was another change that we saw down the line. Thirdly, and somewhere I remember Dr. Jalan when he visited RBI offices, he said everybody looks very sad and dismal. What is the reason? He asked the HR people. So they said perhaps they don't get good perks, and lo and behold, they gave us such wonderful perks. So what perks that we have today, I think it started there. And
Wow.
yeah, so then another change came in the form of departments, expansion of RBI. So along with the changing economy and the need of, say, the underserved people, the people who were not in as a part of the included in banking sector, and you had the Department of Rural Planning became the Department of Financial Inclusion Development Department. The Department of Technology was introduced when technology came in a big way in the banking sector. International department has come about now. Customer service department was introduced, and now it is customer protection. And so from FERA, then another thing was the foreign exchange department, which was called the department. At the time of liberalization of the economy, when it happened, when Dr. Manmohan Singh had introduced LERMS, the Liberalized Exchange Rate
Learn.
Management
Yeah.
System, at that time, the exchange control totally metamorphosed into what you call as foreign exchange department. So from the FERA days of control, it's a very strong mindset, I must confess. When you are an exchange control officer, you're always in a more role. How to conserve foreign exchange. And you were like a suspicious spy looking at people's bills. I gave you $250 for an NTA scheme. Show me the bills. Where have you spent $10 there? That was the kind of mindset people had in exchange control. Once FEMA came and management was our principal then, so you can imagine, we had to really. So that's what I say. This organization is really it makes you change and grow with it. So you have to change your mindset and become foreign exchange management department from exchange control, and the approach when you disposed of cases, when you dealt with customers, with corporate sector, it had to also undergo a similar change. So these are some areas. Currency management is another area where RBI has been experimenting with. They haven't really succeeded so far. I mean, I don't see it still. But there was a time when we thought, paper currency in India, could we work on polymer substrate? The substrate is the material we use for, printing the note. It has a longer longevity, and it was used in Australia. So we did do a lot of research there, a lot of inputs. However, till date, it has not seen the light of the day for various reasons. But yes, so the short point that I've taken a long time in answering this question of yours. The short point is that yes, it's an ever growing, ever evolving, ever changing organization which responds to changes that happen. You know, you see recently the financial inclusion index that has come about. That is also a
Yeah.
culmination of the wisdom of the past, the experience in financial inclusion, and how to dovetail with monetary policy. These two things, you know.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
there's basically the work will always be challenging. The work will always be interesting. It's difficult. Yes.
changing, and it'll make you think differently. It'll make you
Everything.
adapt to changes. So management of change, you know, in regulatory bodies. And I'm very sure NABARD has had similar experience. You know, when people work in NABARD, NABARD has undergone a lot of change. The kind of visibility that NABARD has got today, it wasn't there earlier when it started.
Similarly with SEBI, the
Similarly,
organization it has become today,
yes, and
being one of the
similarly,
young regulators.
very much so. So NHB, of course, NHB. You see, again, when RBI was the one which created the 100% subsidiary of the Reserve Bank, NHB, regulation and supervision of the housing finance companies. For so many years, it did that. And one fine day, they disinvested, took and realized that, the NBFCs and the HFCs are very similar in nature. So why should they be regulators? They took over the function from NHB. So that's really, the way it works and evolves, changes, and challenges.
Yeah. So actually, from this answer, a student had actually asked us before that RBI looks like a dream job from outside. Is it really worth it? So I think your answer, sir, has answered very elaborately how it is changing, how it is contributing, and how it is always a dynamic work, interesting work that keeps you on your toes and that keeps you interested every day when you get up in the morning to go to your office.
You look forward to
you
going.
look forward to you look forward to so yeah. So another student, Chirag, has been asking what is the working profile when we join as grade B officers, and I'll just add to it some other questions which students had sent us beforehand when they had asked how long does it really take to get into policy
Oh,
making
okay.
after joining as grade B officers.
So the first question is with the working profile of a grade B officer. Well, the grade B officer, this is one organization which, the entry level is manager. It is not assistant. We had assistant managers earlier, entry level grade A, but now they stopped and the recruitment happens only at one level. So as grade B officer, you are the shaker and the mover, you can say. You are the pen pusher in the sense you are the one who will initiate. Gone are the days when we had the luxury of a clerk putting up an office note to us. And we, as young direct recruit officers, could depend on the wisdom of these clerical staff who had worked for so many years and they knew much more than us. So we were technically superior in terms of grade, but in terms of knowledge, our staff was very, very, well equipped. So today, it's quite possible that when you join RBI, you will begin from, the case gets initiated at your level. So that's one thing. For example, if you are in foreign exchange department and you're looking after trade, you are posted in trade division and you've been given export section, then any letter that comes from, say, an exporter pertaining to exports, as manager, you will have to initiate the note, which means what? You read the case, understand what the customer is asking, then you summarize what he's saying. So that is where I always say our pressy writing. A customer may write something like 3 pages, and he is not bothered about time, but your boss will not have so much time to read
Too
3 pages. So when you, as a grade B officer, you will start with putting up a note. Now, so that's one thing, and then it goes to depending on how big the section is, depending on where you are posted. So if you're in a smaller center, obviously the number of people would be less. So the levels would be less. Normally, I would say that grade B officers in Reserve Bank largely begin their career from the issue department, because and that is a job of great responsibility, because a you are holding on to large amount of money you've never seen in your life. They could be fresh notes and coins, they could be soil notes, they could be mutilated notes. So there is, and you are the custodian. There's the joint custody. So you are the major custodian, the senior custodian, and one piece missing, you are accountable for that. And secondly, you have to work in the vaults. But this is not to scare anyone here. My point is that you must begin with the bank. Understand that I'm coming here with the sense of responsibility, that the bank is giving me so much, faith and trust that you're new yet to go, and after your training is over, go and join the vault, go and sit in the vault, learn. So that's another job there. So what we call as in regional offices is issue department. So what happens is you may not get to see your friends then. If you're posted in issue department, you begin your day by going to the vault, come out for lunch, go back and do the second half job, come back. By the time you come back, your friends would have perhaps left. So it depends.
Everybody goes around different departments, all there.
Yes, everyone goes around different. Now there is a lot of, it depends on the number of vacancies. So these days there's a lot of focus on regulation and supervision. So if you have if you have a background in commercial banking, or if you have some good experience, that would count perhaps, and you could get uh, depending on the perception, sometimes the need of the organization. And I say, okay, you are coming with 5 years in State Bank of India, you would do a good job in X department, supervision, for example. I can post you. So be prepared for any department, but do not expect straight away that you're going to be posted. As I hear from people, I want to work in international department. I want to work in secretaries department. I want to work in department of communication. No, these are not the core departments. So normally your postings are in core departments, which is issue department, which could be banking department, which could be regulation, supervision, foreign exchange. These are the core areas. And monetary policy, yes, that is again a specialized department where they have different set of people there. So that leads me to your next question about policy. How long does it take to start getting involved in policy? In the regional offices, we do not have any policy making decisions. So policy making is only centralized in central office, Mumbai. So if you are posted in Mumbai and in a central office department, say foreign exchange, central office foreign exchange department, and you have been given as a manager in foreign investment division, it could be quite likely that you have a very critical role to play there, because but you're not involved in the sense you are not taking decisions about policies, but you will be processing cases, and the cases will go up to the top management. And when they come back to you, you get a very good understanding of how policy making is happening. So the higher you rise, then, as you get promotions, you get more and more into policy making. Yeah. So if you are in regional office, because some people, they want to be, they don't want to go to Mumbai, big city, big bad city, and traveling is a pain, housing is a problem. I don't want to go to Mumbai. So they'd rather stay in Lucknow or Patna. There, then you be prepared to do non-policy work. But if you are keen on working in policy, make yourself visible, get a posting in Mumbai. If they give you Mumbai, it doesn't matter. You may have to travel a long distance. But then, when you begin a career, you must be willing to make sacrifices. And then you will, if you shine out, they'll say, okay, this person is very good in policy making. You get involved earlier.
It's a part of the career. We have to keep working towards.
There are people I've seen, Prachi, who've never been into policy because they've always avoided coming to Mumbai, maybe because of family reasons, or they were not very keen, for whatever reason. So those of them who come to, and 2/3 of the Reserve Bank is in Mumbai. So effectively, and when you come to a place like Mumbai, you would be there for at least 10 years.
10 years. Okay, so that was some students who were interested in knowing how long can they be in Mumbai, in RBI, or in SEBI also. So in SEBI also, you get a good enough chance to be in Mumbai.
Yes, it has,
Yeah,
since it has limited number of
yeah,
offices, yeah, so
offices.
it's certainly there.
Yes. So this question I'll just answer to Aditya Raj. He's been asking, what is the scope for students from IT, CSE in RBI? So we have already taken any background. You need to have the eligibility in terms of your marks for graduation or post graduation. Any degree is acceptable as to that. So you can join RBI, and the entry is through grade B recruitment, direct recruitment that happens in
Yeah.
RBI. So Aditya Raj, yes, you can very well start. Chirag Singh was asking, he is in first year graduation. So when should I start? Chirag, you can start as early as you want. So keep adding, because it's about knowledge, gaining as much knowledge as you can. So keep preparing as early as you start.
Can I
It
add
is there.
something here, Raj,
Yes.
to his question? One advantage of starting early is joining early. And the biggest advantage of joining early is you have more number of years to work in the organization.
Yeah.
And the more number of years you have a longer span to rise to higher positions.
Yeah. Very
Vis-a-vis,
true.
so anybody can you can join the bank at 23 and you can join the bank at 29 also or 30 also.
Yeah.
But then the
Yeah.
person who joins at the age of 23, 24 has 6 years edge over the other person who's going to retire at 60, 6 years before. And in those critical
True.
6 years of the last faggot of your career, that's where you're going to be catapulted to higher positions, the executive directors, if you want to be. And someone may be very lucky in a batch, you may get one person who becomes the deputy governor, and two people who may become, two or three who may become EDs.
EDs. Yeah. So true. Very. So as the earlier we start, as Sir said, you have more years to rise up, more
Yes,
chance to rise
today
up.
my batchmate, Mr. Rajeshwar Rao, he's the deputy governor of Reserve Bank. He joined at 23. We joined much later and retired, but he continues to be there till 60, and then as a DG, he's got more number of years now. He's the only one in our batch who could make it to the DG's post.
Very interesting, and that's a very important point that you brought out. So, so yes. So let me come to preparation related. A lot of queries come in relation to the preparation. Um, so when you had prepared that time, descriptive papers was the only way the exams happened. In between, RBI was doing exams in the objective format. And now it's a hybrid since last year, when it's half objective and the another 50% is descriptive. In addition to the descriptive English, even the professional papers, ESI and FM related, finance and management related, are 50% objective and 50% descriptive. So, how should one prepare for descriptive papers and interview stage, and how is it different from preparing from objective and exams?
Well, I think in our days there was no objective.
Yes.
So they seem to be completing a full circle now, and they realize the importance of a descriptive paper vis-a-vis an objective type, which is more of a recall mode. So you're familiar, you read something, you may not have retained it, but you can recall it when four options are there, and you can clear the your objective answers more easily. Vis-a-vis something like a descriptive paper, where I'll be testing your understanding of the topic that I'm asking you to write on and your expression. So it's not that you can say any, and because of the number of words, there is a limitation. So we must learn when we prepare for descriptive, you must know the grain from the chaff, distinguish between because I've seen many times, we tend to bring in irrelevant things. We don't come to the core. We don't, what is most important. So prioritize the importance of the, inputs that you can give in your descriptive answers, whether it is ESI or whether it is English language, that the descriptive paper that we have. choose the point, and that is why, again, when you practice your pressy writing, it really trains your mind as to how to remove the irrelevant material and come to the core. So all the students who are preparing for descriptive, please see that when you read something on, say, for example, uh, self-help groups, then don't talk in generalities there. I do observe in interviews, when you ask this question, or what is a self-help group, or what is, priority sector. So they will answer, there are certain key words that you must use in your descriptive answer. So when you say the underserved, the non-included, the outreach, or you should know the mandated 40% private sector lending for the banks. These are words which are important. Anyone can write a para on priority sector, but what would distinguish your answer from my answer would be what are the kind of inputs that I've used. So descriptive paper requires intense reading and comprehension. Again, so for for people who are doing English comprehension, again, it is important. The RC, it helps you to understand, and then the questions that follow, you are able to, because you've understood the passage, you are able to respond to the answers. So if you practice these things, it really helps. Therefore, write your descriptive answer. It requires intense reading, understanding, comprehension, and a reproduction.
Okay. So if
So,
I may add,
yes,
sorry.
please. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I may add with this, like I think what I understand is we need to be able to have the conceptual clarity and comprehension about any topic, and
Yes.
not just try to, learn or pick certain points, and which may have helped to some extent in objective. Even though even today now that we are seeing the objective pattern questions, they're also kind of checking the conceptual knowledge with the kind of options that they give, which look very familiar and very confusing. So once one has a good conceptual understanding, you are able to differentiate, like you said, now remove the shaft, because you will be able to get the actual comprehension of the topic, or whatever concept has been mentioned. So
Right.
a holistic preparation is there, then it doesn't really matter if it is coming in the objective or a descriptive format.
No shortcuts. There are
No
no
shortcuts.
shortcuts to
No
preparation.
shortcuts.
In short, that all our prospective aspirants should understand this. You will have to work hard. मेहनत तो करनी पड़ेगी. बिना मेहनत करे तो नहीं होगा कि कोई शॉर्टकट लगा के कोई प्रिपेयर्ड ऐसे पढ़ लिया और उसको रिप्रोड्यूस कर दिया. नहीं, आप खुद भी सोचना पड़ेगा. आपको कुछ अपने जब आप लिखते हैं, you should be involved in what you're writing. Don't reproduce somebody's answer.
Okay, so to get a more clarity, Shivani is asking. So when we are attempting descriptive questions in the exam, should we write in paragraph format or in pointers?
Normally, it is expected because it is descriptive, you are supposed to describe the topic, the details. In pointers, you're only giving the highlights.
Yeah.
So, we would not be able to see whether you are able to put them together comprehensively, logically, and they should be flowing in an order. What happened? I think what you can do is, at best, when you are running short on time, supposing you know the answer, you can write a descriptive answer, yet you don't have the time, and instead of leaving the paper blank, perhaps some bullet points can be added there to score some points, certainly. But every answer can't be in bullet points.
Yeah, true. Okay. So another question which Anurag has asked is, what NHB wants from their employees, or similarly, I think we can extend it to RBI also.
Yeah.
What is RBI or any regulatory body for that matter is looking for in their employees, so that they can keep those things in mind when they are preparing for interviews, or even for the exam?
So when you look for a job, I always say that, please see yourself as a product in the market. So if you are a product and you are in the market, who will pick you up? It's just like a housewife going shopping between. I mean, I'm using a very simple analogy for the people to understand. Most popular ads that we see are say detergent ads. They're always emphasizing on the whiteness aspect. That this has that maybe lemon in it or citrus juice in it, whatever X. So there has to be that X factor. So any organization that takes you, irrespective of Reserve Bank, SEBI, regulatory or even non-regulatory body, they would like to see how you stand out. Because I have 100 candidates, I just need 10, the best 10. Who are the best 10? Who stand out, who have a certain X factor in them, who are rounded. It's not knowledge alone that I'm seeing there. Knowledge has been tested in your written exam. Now, when you come for the interview and you want to join an organization, then please remember, please understand, your personality is also being tested. Your communication skills are there. There should be good communication skills. You should be able to speak out clearly and logically. You, as a person who appears, what we call as OLQ, the officer-like qualities that you see in people, those are important.
So how can one prepare for those?
One way is, of course, coaching. You see, there are two approaches to preparing for exams. You can prepare on your own. In our days, we were preparing on our own. There was no one to guide us. I'm sure today, if I were to appear for Reserve Bank, I wouldn't get into the service without getting coaching, honestly speaking. Because those options are there today. In our days, we would just prepare, maybe sit in a group, talk to our contemporaries, read newspapers, make notes, and appear. Today, we have so many options where there are not only hand holding, but good guidance is being given. So a combination of self-study and guidance will help you in building up your personality and your knowledge, both.
That's very well said, actually, sir. Because as you mentioned, you in your times you were reading, you were
Yes,
making your notes, you were preparing. But I think that holds true even today. Even one needs to read,
one
but
needs to read.
one needs to read, one needs to make notes. But yes, we can get a guide, a coach that will
Right.
help
You
us
have
direct our efforts maybe in the
your
field that are.
efforts, and what I find is they help you in understanding your strengths and your
Yeah,
weaknesses both.
that's very
Especially
important.
for interview, we see the interview coaching. There was no concept of interview coaching other than in those days we had Rouse IAS. They had
Mhm.
this coaching centers and they had interview sessions. But for bankers, there was nothing of the kind. Now today, when we appear for regulatory bodies, we have so much of material in the market available. So sometimes you don't even make your notes; you get very good handouts. You attend lectures and you make your own notes from there. So the bullet points that you take in the class, for example, would help you to write an answer there. The inputs are there.
So yes, actually, we've answered the question related to how one should prepare. We had received certain queries from students who had asked how they should prepare, whether they should prepare on their own or they should go for any kind of coaching. So I think Sir has, uh, very well mentioned it, how it can be done.
Also,
It's a combination of both. Yeah.
one more thing I would like to add here is many people come and say, my English is not very good. How do I go about it? So we've already said English is to enter the bank other than English descriptive, which all regulatory bodies have. Once you're in the organization, English may not be so important. Now, if your English is so weak that you are unable to write grammatically correct sentences, then appearing for the descriptive paper would be a challenge. So I would say that you must practice and improve your grammar. That's something, the more you write, the more you practice, the more you listen. It's very important when you listen to people when they talk. Your subject verb agreement always goes haywire, and that is where your sentence breaks. That's a very common mistake. So the best thing is to listen to people talk. These days YouTube has so many um, thought leaders. They speak. You can listen to them, how they construct a sentence, read articles, how the writer has written simple sentences, not writing complex sentences. Because there is a feeling in some people that you have to be very verbose, you have to be very pompous, and no, write short responses, sentences.
Yeah, I think I remember when I was learning, this was first rule that was told, that in an attempt to write something very flowery language, some very new words, we miss out
Right.
the core of the answer. Simple, short sentences is the first step to writing a good descriptive answer, or
You
any for that
you
matter.
remember well. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yes. So सर एक हिंदी में एक क्वेश्चन आया है जो बहुत अच्छा लग रहा था पढ़ सुनने में, और तो शायद हम कवर कर रहे हैं। सफलता का क्या राज होता है सर?
सफलता का राज तो आपने सुन ही लिया है। जो हमने अभी जितना भी डिस्कशन करा है, उसमें ये बात तो आ ही गई है कि कोई शॉर्टकट तो है नहीं सफलता के लिए। आपको मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, आपको दिल लगा के पढ़ना पड़ेगा, और कई चीज़ें ऐसी हैं जो आपकी शायद समझ में ना आए, उनको प्रैक्टिस करना पड़ेगा। पर ये निराश नहीं होना है अगर सफलता नहीं हो। एक राज़ ये भी है कि अगर आप पहली असफलता में निराश हो जाएँगे, तो आपको सफलता मिलना मुश्किल हो जाता है। नेवर लूज़ योर कॉन्फिडेंस, अपना कॉन्फिडेंस बरकरार रखिए आप। और ये भी मान के चलिए कि जो मैं इम्तिहान देने जा रही हूँ या जा रहा हूँ, वो इट्स नॉट द एंड ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। अगर नहीं हुआ तो कोई नहीं, मुझे एक मौका और मिलेगा, मैं अगली बारी उससे बेहतर करूँगा। क्योंकि हमारी नर्वसनेस वहाँ से ही शुरू हो जाती है जब हमको लगता है कि अगर हमने नहीं पास किया एग्ज़ाम तो क्या? फिर से देना पड़ेगा, घरवाले क्या कहेंगे? एटसेट्रा, एटसेट्रा। वो उससे हमको चिंता नहीं करनी चाहिए उस बात की। तो सफलता का राज़ तो हम लोग थ्रू आउट करते ही आ रहे हैं डिस्कस।
करते आ रहे हैं, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। अम, सर एक क्वेश्चन है अंकित पाठक का कि एनएचबी में लॉन्ग टर्म में क्या करियर प्रोस्पेक्ट्स हैं?
एनएचबी देखिए एक छोटी ऑर्गेनाइज़ेशन है। अब आप रिज़र्व बैंक से कंपेयर करेंगे जहाँ पे 15,000 लोग हैं, और आप पीएफआरडीए देखिए, यहाँ पे 70 लोग होंगे, एनएचबी देखिए वहाँ पे शायद 125 के करीब लोग हैं, ऑफिसर्स हैं। दीज़ आर ऑल ऑफिसर ओरिएंटेड। द स्मॉलर रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज़ जो आई थी, अब तो खैर एनएचबी रेगुलेटरी नहीं रही है, लेकिन ये बहुत छोटी ऑर्गेनाइज़ेशंस हैं, तो इसका पिरामिड तो बहुत नैरो हो जाता है। आपका बेस असिस्टेंट मैनेजर जब आप जॉइन करेंगे कई सारे होते हैं, लेकिन जैसे-जैसे आप बढ़ते जाएँगे, नंबर ऑफ वैकेंसीज़ घटती जाती है। तो 2 वहाँ पे टॉप में क्या होता है, जनरल मैनेजर, 5 जनरल मैनेजर्स होते हैं, और उसके ऊपर उनमें से 1 ईडी बनता है। तो ये बात ध्यान में रखिए कि हाँ, बहुत नैरो पिरामिड है यहाँ पर। आरबीआई और सेबी में आरबीआई में तो इन पर्टिकुलर नाबार्ड में द पिरामिड इज वाइड एंड देन इट गोज़ अप। तो आप अच्छे काम करेंगे, तो चाहे एनएचबी हो, चाहे आरबीआई हो, तो फिर आप तो ऊपर तक पहुँचेंगे।
ऊपर जाएंगे।
हाँ, एनएचबी में तो जनरल मैनेजर का पोज़ीशन होता है, उसके बाद सीजीएम नहीं है उनके वहाँ पे, तो फिर ईडी का पोस्ट एक ही रहता है। तो आरबीआई में तो आपको जनरल मैनेजर की बहुत पोज़ीशंस हैं, उसके ऊपर सीजीएम की बहुत पोज़ीशंस हैं, तो आप काम अच्छा करेंगे तो नोबडी कैन स्टॉप यू।
और सर दूसरे एंगल से अगर मैं एक बार देखूँ इसको, तो छोटी ऑर्गेनाइज़ेशन होती हैं तो राइज़ होने की अपॉर्च्युनिटी भी ज़्यादा होती है। आप काम भी
हाँ, अगर आप
रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी
उनमें
वाला करते हो,
राइट,
आपकी विज़िबिलिटी जल्दी ज़्यादा होती है, तो वो तो आप पे डिपेंड करता है कि आप उसको कितना लंबा लेके जाते हैं। एंड बीइंग गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइज़ेशंस और जो उनके पे एंड पर्क्स जो ग्रेड
हाँ,
के साथ एसोसिएटेड है, वो आपको मिलेंगे ही।
बिल्कुल।
तो दैट मीन्स मेहनत करनी है अंदर जाने के लिए भी और आगे बढ़ते रहने के लिए भी। उसके लिए कोई शॉर्टकट नहीं है, अगर मैं वापस उसी पॉइंट पे आऊँ तो। अ, तो a few questions I'll just answer sir. कुछ-कुछ एलिजिबिलिटी और जॉइनिंग से रिलेटेड हैं। तो गजांश गर्ग पूछ रहे थे कि स्कोप ऑफ रेगुलेटरी जॉब फॉर सीए, सीएस प्रोफेशनल्स। तो आपकी डिग्री, हम शुरू में भी जैसे डिस्कस किया था, डिग्री से नहीं फ़र्क पड़ता है, जो एलिजिबिलिटी है आप उस पे अगर फिट बैठते हैं, आप एग्ज़ाम दे सकते हैं। इक्वल अपॉर्च्युनिटी है, ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ डिग्रीज़, चाहे वो आईटी से हो, चाहे सीए से हो, चाहे सीएस से हो, चाहे इंजीनियरिंग से हो, all of you can give the exam. If you clear it, reach the interview, clear that, तो आपके पास same opportunity है to rise in the organization, to join and rise in the organization. Uh, uh, Kisan, okay, so the question that has come latest कि सेबी में कितने लोगों ने अप्लाई किया था जो सीए या सीएस हैं, आपको ये जानकारी मिल जाएगी। हमने बहुत सारे वीडियोस किए हैं, कितने लोगों ने अपीयर किया था, कितने सेलेक्ट हुए हैं, यू नो, डिग्री वाइज। सो वो हमारे चैनल पे आपको सेबी के एनालिसिस में ऐसी वीडियो मिल जाएंगी। इंजीनियरिंग के लिए भी सेम है, आप सेबी में इंजीनियर अगर आप हैं तो आप ग्रेड ए के लिए अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। सर, आईआरएस या फिर आरबीआई ग्रेड बी, किसमें चॉइस होनी चाहिए?
ये तो वही सवाल हुआ कि मैं ऑरेंज खाऊं कि एप्पल खाऊं। You know, you can't
Yeah.
compare the two. They are two different services, two different organizations, different mandate altogether. So ये तो आपको चॉइस करनी पड़ेगी कि आप, हमने ऐसा भी देखा है कि आईआरएस वाले लोग भी आरबीआई में आ गए हैं छोड़कर, और आरबीआई से लोग छोड़कर आईआरएस में भी गए हैं। दोनों तरफ का हमने वो चलन देखा है।
सर, कुछ क्वेश्चंस इंटरव्यू से रिलेटेड हैं प्रेफरेंस में। अगर 5 साल का गैप है, इंटरव्यू स्टेज में पहुंचते हैं और हमारे पास 5 साल का गैप है, तब कैसे हमें हैंडल करना चाहिए और क्या हमारा चांस है सेलेक्ट होने का? एंड देन वन मोर इंटरव्यू रिलेटेड इज दैट विल द एज प्ले एनी फैक्टर, स्पेशली इन रिगार्ड्स टू पीएसबी एम्प्लॉइज जिनकी एज अबव 30 हो गई है?
वो तो हमने डिस्कस कर ही लिया था कि जितना जल्दी आप जॉइन करेंगे, उतना ही जल्दी
Yes.
आपको, उतना लंबा स्पैन आपका सर्विस का होगा। So as
Yes.
against 35 years, you may get 40 years. As against 30 years, you may get 36 years, depending on, वो तो आपका एज फैक्टर हो जाता है।
बट
और
सिलेक्शन में कोई ऐसा उनको डिसएडवांटेज या एडवांटेज?
सिलेक्शन में एज को नहीं एकदम वो रखेंगे, अहमियत देंगे उसको।
एंड
अच्छा,
सर,
दूसरा
5 इयर्स का अगर या 6
5
का
इयर्स
किसी
का
का
ही होगा।
गैप है?
हाँ,
हाँ।
तो देखिए, एक बात तो ये है कि सबको मालूम होता है कि आजकल बच्चे जो हैं सब एकदम डिफरेंट कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम दे रहे हैं, और इसमें कोई छुपाने वाली बात नहीं होती कि वो आईएएस भी दे रहा है और रिजर्व बैंक भी दे रहा है और सेबी भी दे रहा है। लेकिन आप किस तरीके से उस बात को सामने लाते हैं, कितना आप बताना चाहते हैं, वो आपके ऊपर निर्भर करता है। तो 5 साल का गैप आपने, क्या कारण है? अपने आप से पूछिए, व्हाट इज़ द जेन्युइन रीज़न? समटाइम्स पीपल गिव रीज़न्स व्हिच आर नॉट वेरी कन्विंसिंग। आप कहिए कि हम कैंपस प्लेसमेंट क्यों नहीं लिया? बिकॉज़ हम प्रिपरेशन करना चाहते थे। हम 5 साल से पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, और मेरे पास इतने सारे नंबर ऑफ इयर्स थे कि आई कुड टेक, आई वुड नॉट पिक अप अ जॉब, आई वुड रादर प्रिपेयर। आप कह सकते हैं। तो 5 साल का गैप इज़ नॉट रियली एनी हैंडीकैप। लेकिन हाँ, एक बात हो जाती है कि भई 5 साल से कुछ भी नहीं कर पाया है, तो फ़ोकस नहीं है क्या इसमें? ऐसा फीलिंग नहीं उनको आप दीजिए, ये लैक ऑफ फ़ोकस के कारण। एक अपॉर्च्युनिटी होती है, आपके पास राइट अपॉर्च्युनिटी अभी आई नहीं है, लेकिन अभी अभी बहुत मंजिलें बाकी हैं आपके लिए।
ओके। तो वी हैव टेकन अप मोस्ट क्वेरीज। बहुत सारी और क्वेरीज जो हैं वो एग्जाम से रिलेटेड हैं, सेबी के एग्जाम के टॉपिक से रिलेटेड, उन सब से रिलेटेड। सो आई विल सजेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू कीप वॉचिंग वेरियस video sessions that we keep doing, especially to answer queries related to eligibility, exam patterns, uh, entry qualifications and all. So that will help you in understanding uh, yeah, about your degrees and all these questions. So uh, yeah, so a lot of queries are coming related to that. As of now, SEBI exam is going to happen next month. NHP exam is also going to happen next month. The exact dates are not out, but Tentatively, it is somewhere in the last week of February. So that is in relation to the exams that are coming up in the regulatory bodies. NABARD related interviews will happen most likely next month. The phase two exams have been over and the interview stage is pending for NABARD. So that's the update related to the regulatory bodies as of now. And for people who have cracked SBI PO or are looking to crack now next level of exams, as we discussed in detail, there are a lot of opportunity, but shortcut nahi hai. Preparation करनी है, मेहनत करनी है in a focused manner, and वो focused manner आप अपने आप भी कर सकते हैं या किसी कोच या मेंटर की हेल्प लेके भी कर सकते हैं. So opportunities की कमी नहीं है, and it's a great career to have in regulatory bodies, any of these RBI, SEBI, NHB, NABARD, as Sir has told us in a detailed discussion today. So I will close for the queries as of now. Any more queries, please write. Keep asking in the comments of this video also. We will try to reply as much as we can. Sir, any last message from your end for the aspirants looking to prepare and start preparing, or wondering whether they should prepare or not prepare?
Actually, Prachi, you summarized the whole session so well in those the last couple of lines that you were talking to the students. So you have really summarized everything that I have said. My message is already there to the students: to work hard, do not adopt shortcut methods, don't give up, don't lose hope, and more importantly, be confident. You see, unless you're confident about your preparation, you will not be able to bring out your thoughts in a good, clear manner. Same thing happens with an interview. If I know and what I did not mention earlier, but your biodata form that you've given to the board, that is very critical, because everything begins from there. How much have you opened up there? What have you told us? If you say that I like to read books, then you should know which books you read, and you should talk about a book which I may have also read. Otherwise, you're going to miss a good opportunity. If you say I like watching movies, and you say, well, I watch one, movie no one has heard of, one of also ran movies, and you are losing a good chance to, you know, carry on a conversation with us. So if today, I find somebody writes, I've done French, but when you ask anything in French, they know nothing about it. So what is the point of saying that then? So only mention that which you are confident, or having written something there to impress us, please do a background reading of that subject matter that you've written. Same thing happens with your gap. If you have a gap, please ask yourself those questions as to how best this can be. Also, do not negate your previous organizations. When you come and you're already working somewhere, and when you're switching over, you must have a good reason to switch over. Maybe it is an aspirational goal that you have in life to join a regulatory body. You have learned a lot, but say no, I didn't find this job very interesting. It was you start making noises about the organization. That doesn't speak very good about your personality. Just keep that also in mind. So with these words, I think I think I've given too much of gyan, and it may be a little boring sometimes in gyan.
No. This is always very helpful. And in fact, you've conducted so many interviews, for RBI, for mock interviews. You've guided so many students. I think more than 1,000 interviews you must have done with us only for NABARD, SEBI, RBI, guiding students, giving valuable insights to them in their preparation, which is so important, because sometimes we may not realize when we speak, like you mentioned, that we may be doing something to impress, not realizing that we are losing an opportunity to talk and converse with the board by saying something which the other may not have heard. So these are points that we don't realize, but only when we interact with the right people, with the right experts, do these points come out. So always looking for your guidance, sir. And it's
Anytime.
always a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you so much for taking out time today.
Thank you so much, Prachi, for this session. I think it is, I always enjoy coming and discussing whatever one has learned and one can share. And it's been my pleasure to be with you here today. Thank you so much. And good luck to everyone who's watching this session.
Thank you.